Well, hello everybody and welcome back. It is Jeff again coming to you with Mindcrack Vanilla from the Mindcrack server. Basically, whoa. I pretty much just sat here a little bit blocked up and got myself some food cooked that I had on me. I made a furnace, got some food cooked, and was contemplating what I'm gonna do with my life now that I've lost some of the needed things. That is perfect. I needed this coal, and basically I figured, while I'm here, why not just continue exploring this cave and see if we can make the most out of this. Pretty much, I need an ender chest where I'm going, and unfortunately, my ender chest that I had on me has done blowed up, and I didn't bring another one with me when I made the run all the way back. So if I want an ender chest, I have to go all the way back home, or hope I can get the materials necessary to make one at some point in my journey. Now, I figure, why not just make the most of this? We'll see what happens. We'll stick around this area for a while. Whoa, my God, maybe. When will I learn? Well, I'm still alive. That's good. And I gotta get some blocks on my bar. I just used them all, so they're not going to be on my bar, but I will pick them up when I go again. Okay, now that I'm re-healing a little bit, let's continue to explore this cave. It very well could lead us to the things that we need. It very well could be absolutely nothing and just lead to more and more death. At this point, I can't say it doesn't matter because of the fact that, I got a lot of that gear back that I was upset about losing. I've got a lot of it back because of that one zombie being friendly enough to wear it. Oh, including my Depth Strider boots, which are so nice because I don't have to worry about going super slow in the water, which is something that I really, really hate. I can't believe I didn't use Depth Strider regularly before. I remember it took me a long time to enchant my first set of Depth Strider boots that I didn't want to use them for anything else. They're sitting there pretty much fully intact way back at the resort island that I had, and I didn't. Why do you blow up? I was nowhere near you. You didn't even hurt me. That's how not near you I was. Stupid creeper. They're just out to get me. But that being the case, I now realize how good they are, and I want to keep them around forever because every time I just randomly run into water, do they help you in lava? I've never paid attention to the Depth Strider enchant enough to know if they are something that does help you in lava or not, because it'd be interesting to just kind of roll through the lava nonchalantly, take some damage, but not take nearly as much damage because I could get through it a lot faster. Not that I need to, I have a bucket, but I'm just... Whoa. I just accidentally scrolled and slid off of my sword there for a minute. Okay, this is a dead end. But we can keep going this way. So I have a midterm coming up tomorrow for the class I'm taking for the fire department, strategies and tactics. And I was glancing at the material today at work. Unfortunately, I didn't have any time to study. I was super busy. We had a lot of systems that went down because of some new update that went in. So it kept me quite busy for the entirety of the day. But it gave me a lot of time to think about the upcoming test that I had. And for those of you guys who are in college or even in high school or even, post-college and can remember the days or just remember taking a test ever in your life for anything, when you think about a test, yeah, you can build up some anxiety about it. I'm not really that anxious about this test. I feel I paid enough attention in class, and I feel it's one of those tests where what he's taught us in class is going to be enough to get by at least the test. I don't know though. It's the the first one since it's the midterm, and we only do midterms and finals in these type of situations. So it very well might not be. I will find out. I guess that's the ultimate thing in college is getting that first test in your classes is to understand how your professor is. You feel a lot either more or less comfortable right after that first test. Because you'll go through some of the classes that you think are some of the hardest material to grasp. And when you actually go through and take the test, you're like, okay, I was prepared for this. The instructor did a good job of preparing me for this. Or they have really easy exams for a really hard class. Sometimes it's like that. But it gives you an outlook into how you think you are going to do for the remainder of the class. And sometimes it's the opposite. It's a very easy class, and you get to the test, and you're like, what the F did I just look at? Because this is not at all what I expected the material to be that I would be studying. This is not the material that we studied. You guys fight each other, all you skeletons. Just let them fight. Let them fight. And what, you son of a bitch. One of the things that we have to do for this test is there's a couple acronyms that we have to memorize. And one thing I love and hate about memorization is sometimes you have an acronym that makes something easy to remember. Like ABCDE, airway, breathing, circulation, disability, exposure. Very common acronym, ABCDE, for, you know, CPR, first aid, all that type of stuff. Problem is, some acronyms, they're like, oh yeah, this acronym's really easy. It's ABCD. And you're like, okay, airway, breathing, no. It has nothing to do with airway, breathing, circulation. It's aeronautical, you know, Bravo. Like, I don't know. I was making up an acronym that utilizes the same letters. Because, like, when you deal with pain is OPQRST. Actually, there's a U there now as well. Did I really use all those torches? Holy crap. There's a U there now as well. I don't actually remember off the top of my head what the U is. Let me see if I remember it when we go through. And it's onset. So O, onset. P, provoking factors, like what makes the pain better or worse. Q, the quality of the pain. Is it sharp? Is it dull? Blah, blah, blah. R, radiation. Does it radiate anywhere? Severity. S, 0 through 10 scale. How much does it actually hurt? T, time. How long has it gone on for? T, or the U, oh God, I do not remember what the U actually stands for in it. It was new when I went to EMT class. They just added the U, and I honestly don't remember it. And that, it kind of bothers me because I pride myself in keeping up with these. The basic acronyms, the OPQRST is a quite basic acronym for anybody in the, you know, medical field, first aid, things like that. I wouldn't expect, you know, a normal layman to know that. It's just not something they would know. But if you're in any type of the medical field, especially emergency medicine, like, you know, pre-hospital care, ski patrol, all that stuff, it's a very, very common acronym. And I really like to know what the new things are when they put them into an acronym, because things to me that are funny about the medical field is like alert and oriented. A&O times 3 is the very common phrase. Everybody knows if you're A&O times 3, if you're alert and oriented times 3, person, place, time, that means you're alert and oriented and you're not having a problem with confusion. However, they have recently, when I say recent, I mean it's been at least like, oh wow, that's a big open space there as well. You scared the crap out of me just because I wasn't expecting you for some other reason. They've recently, in the 5 to 10 years ago, made A&O is not A&O times 3, it's A&O times 4. Alert and oriented times 4. And it's person, place, time, situation. Oh my God, I'm stuck. I'm stuck in a web. This is not happening. This is happening. This happened. It's not happening. I mean, it happened. Again, I can probably get back there. I know how to get back there now. The area is not loaded in currently. I know how to get back there faster. I could probably maneuver my way through that cave enough to get to where I was at in a quick enough time frame, and I won't keep that area loaded for a long period of time, but I don't think that's what I'm going to focus on right now, though I really want to. It's just a lot of running to go back there and try to do this again, but maybe it is what I have to do. This time I need to bring food because I forgot to bring that last time and it made it rough. Make myself some more armor. I'm just wasting a lot of time with a lot of my iron with armor, but luckily I pretty much have an unlimited supply of iron, so that makes that part a little bit easier. It still is annoying as hell. Let me just wear some of this random armor that I have around. I need some of these for sure. I wish I had a horse. I could borrow a horse and get out there. Is this all the random bits of armor I had left? These 2 random helmets that are pretty much useless. Boom. Okay, look, I got my helmet on. Oh, okay, let me get some supplies together and take this time too. And roll back out. Maybe I'll get supplies together while I'm talking to you guys, because I might not even go this episode out there again. I might bring, however, this random Fortune 2 pick as my pick. That might be what I'm going to do. So either way, I was saying A&O times 4. It's alert and oriented to person, place, time, and situation. They've added situation to the mix because they've realized if somebody is oriented to person, place, and time, but has no idea what's actually happening, like you just got in a car accident. Oh, okay. Do you know who you are? Yes, my name's Jeff Sano. Do you know where you're at? Yeah, I'm on the inner loop 495 by Connecticut Avenue. Do you know what time it is or what day it is? Yeah, it's Thursday. Thursday, 2015, you know, I almost said November, October 1st, 2015. Okay, so you're good to go then, no problems. Who are you? Why am I here? What's going on? You know, it's a problem. You had a car accident, and that's what the response is that you end up getting out of everything. So they realized that they had to add the whole situation thing to the mix of everything else. So, I mean, it makes sense to add that. Now, the issue is the common masses still decide to call things when they're writing like a narrative note or something like that. They will sit there and say that patient is A&O times 3 because that's a standard practice to write that. Problem is, if you're A&O times 3, you're technically not oriented. Not alert and oriented fully. That means you're missing one of the alert and oriented features. However, it's commonly accepted that A&O times 3 is just accepted as being alert and oriented. Completely alert and oriented, even though it's really not accurate. So that's one of the problems I have with, and that's not an acronym per se, I guess A&O, but it's the way medical terminology and things like that goes. It's, what am I doing here? I'm like flustered from dying, and I'm just trying to like hide it by just making all this stuff and getting ready to ship out. What else do I need? I need to go get some food from the village. I don't think anybody's loaded that chunk in a while though, so unfortunately it might actually take a little bit for potatoes and stuff over there to grow, but you guys are going to come with me when we do that. So alert and oriented times, 3 is not really alert and oriented, but it is one of those common things that's out there. But acronyms in general, one of the biggest problems with them is the fact that there's some acronyms that are extremely easy to remember. I just gave you the basic ones, A, B, C, D, E. Oh, God. The pain one, O, P, Q, R, S, T, with the U, whatever the U is. And I'd love to know what the U is because I don't want to be doing my pain incorrectly because I don't include the U, which I can't remember off the top of my head what it is, like I said. But then you got things like Cindy is kinky, so she fornicates more often. That is one I will never, ever forget because it's a sexual-based or a sexual-based acronym. And people love the sexual-based acronyms. Like one of the main ones in like med school and nursing school is some lovers try positions that they can't handle. And it's an acronym, each beginning letter in the phrase some lovers try positions that they can't handle is related to the bones in the hand. I don't remember off the top of my head all the bones in the hand. I never had to get that in detail except for like a test to my anatomy and physiology class. Never since then has a doctor come up to me and been like, Jeff, I need to know that specific name of the bone in the hand, or why didn't you write the proper name of the bone in the hand I told you was broken? Like, it doesn't come up like that. That's a doctor thing. That's not a nurse thing to do. Guarantee Julia probably could rattle it off what they are because she remembers all that stuff that she has to. She's a doctor. She has to know that medical terminology, whereas I personally do not have to know it in that type of detail. The Cindy is kinky, so she fornicates more often. If you guys are ever taken like a microbiology class and you have to learn the citric acid cycle or the Krebs cycle. Oops, I'm trying to plant zombie meat there. It's Cindy is kinky, so she can fornicate more often, or so she fornicates more often is the acronym that you can use to remember the Krebs cycle and all the circles. So C is citrate, is isocitrate, kinky, K, it's alpha ketoglutarate. Yeah, it starts with an alpha, but ketoglutarate starts with a K, so you remember alpha ketoglutarate. So, succinate, she, succinylcholine, or succinyl-CoA. It's a succinate and succinyl-CoA, and I can't remember which order they're in. That is one of the problems when you have two things that are the same letter in the acronym, but you get over it. Fornicates is fumate. More malates, or it's been a long time since I've done the Krebs cycle. I'm amazed that I can remember this much. And often is oxaloacetate. I remember that one. So that's the Krebs cycle. That's the cycle of the compounds that things go through in the Krebs cycle. I remember that to this day. I learned that in 3 different classes that I had, and I could not find a good way in my knowledge base to keep that straight in my head. But this one professor, he just goes, he was actually kind of afraid to say it. It was kind of funny. He was like, do you guys want to know like a way you can do it? He's like, nobody get too offended. And obviously nobody did get offended. We all cracked up for a second when he said that. He's just, Cindy's kinky, so she fornicates more often. And I'm sure he said fornicates as opposed to fucks because we were in class. But I bet you that's the true one. But I will always remember it as fornicates more often, just because that's, you know, exactly what he said, and it rings true in my head. Like, that is, I remember it. I will never forget that. Granted, I might get them mixed up a little bit, but I have the basis of the whole Krebs cycle down from, you know, knowing that, and it would just take me a little bit to go back through it. But then there's some other things, like when I sat for my NCLEX exam, we had to go through this, you know, this learning class, this learning class. That didn't even make any sense. We went through this class that was supposed to help you prepare for the NCLEX, and all the class was literally you sat there, and for hours they just kept saying, oh, and if you want to remember the nursing diagnosis process. I'm just throwing something off the top of my head that this doesn't really make sense because I can't remember, because that's how bad this class was. It didn't teach anything about actual, like, anything that helped me, but it was, you can remember the acronym STAR, and it stands for, and they would just rattle something off that stands for STAR, and it didn't even necessarily, like, fit. It was just there. And then an hour later, there'd be like, and if you want to remember the acronym for the steps in the process of changing a Foley with using, you know, aseptic technique, you can use the acronym STAR. Like, it would literally be the same acronym again, and you just different words. And it's like, that doesn't work. You can't give me 2 acronyms that are STAR and expect me to keep them all separated and understand what they are. But that's what we paid good money for this class. We're forced to pay good money for this class, which makes absolutely no sense. Forced me to pay money for a class that I did not appreciate. I got a big argument with the dean of nursing about that. I tried to get out of taking the class, but it was a requirement for graduation that we had to pay for out of our own pocket. And it was like $300 or something like that at the end of college, when everybody was like all tapped out in their savings because it was the very last semester. We couldn't wait to get a job because everybody's broke at this point. You know, we spent all the money that we had. Nobody had jobs when we were in the you know, the quick nursing program because we didn't have time for that stuff. We studied too much. So that was really annoying to have to deal with that whole, I gotta make a boat to deal with that whole thing. But what I was actually going with this whole thing is some of these acronyms I have to remember, and I like acronyms for the reason that they can sometimes really help you. It's just a matter of when there's too many or everything is based on acronyms, things get rough and things get very difficult to keep straight in your head. I had a professor, he was 9th grade, and I will be honest, I was trying to remember all of it today because I started thinking about this today when I was looking at this acronym that I have to try to memorize tonight, so I can use it on the exam tomorrow. Hopefully understand it for a little bit longer than that, because I want to be able to utilize it on more than the exam just tomorrow. I want to be able to, you know, to have a good working knowledge of this stuff for the future. But I think that's enough. We're gonna bail out of here. But in 9th grade, we had to learn, it was just 10, it was steps though. It wasn't, it was like, you know, 1 through 10, and it was a sentence about, not really a sentence, but a phrase or something you had to do. And it was part of the student code of conduct that, I don't know what happened. There was like, somebody was caught cheating in one of our classes or something like that. So part of our thing was we had to write a report on the student code of conduct book, and then you had to also go through and do, oh my god, you had to also go through and do a paper, or excuse me, this test that we had to take, which was the memorization of these 10 things in the student code of conduct. And everybody's had a real hard time with getting the student code of conduct. And my teacher in 9th grade, he says, Do you want a good strategy for how to go through and remember things like this when they come up in the future? And everybody was like, of course, sure. So he actually didn't teach what he planned on teaching that day to teach us this, because he said this was more of a valuable life lesson than what he was going to teach, and he can catch up with the teaching the next day. You know, granted, this is high school. Classes are only like, 50 minutes long at the time, and then you have a break and you go to your next one, because we had 7 classes a day. So he said what you do is you take the number sequence. You got to remember this list. It's 1 through 10. He says 1 is bun. We're like, what? And he goes, 1 is bun. Just you'll remember that. 1 is bun. 1 rhymes with bun, 1 bun. We're like, okay. He's like, what's number 1 on that list that you have to memorize? And we looked at it and we're like, okay, it's setting priorities. That was literally what number 1 was, setting priorities. And he goes, okay, number 1 is setting priorities. Think about it like this. He goes, buns. Buns come in loaves. So think of you making buns or loaves of bread. We're like, okay. And he's like, you pull them out of the oven. There's a bunch of loaves of bread on this, oven sheet, because you just made a bunch of loaves of bread, not just one. And I said, okay. And he's like, and now picture you're taking these loaves of bread out of the oven, put the oven tray down. You want to get them off of the oven tray because you want them now on a cooling rack. We're like, okay, we'll put the buns on a cooling rack. He says, so you take each one of them and you're setting them all down on the cooling rack. He's like, so just picture setting priorities. You're setting all these buns down on this cooling rack. Just keep that in your mind. And we're like, okay, this seems like the dumbest thing in the world. Obviously, it's not that dumb, because it is, how many years later from that? 20 years? That was 20 years ago. I'm in the wrong spot. I truly am in the wrong spot for this journey. I think I need to be over there. 20 years ago. And I can tell you that number 1 on that list was setting priorities. Now 2 is shoe. Oh, I remember what 2 was off the top of my head. Oh my God, I was having trouble remembering what number 2 was. He says 2 is shoe. 2 rhymes with shoe. You're going to remember 2 is shoe. Okay? Shoe. Just think. Think of the shoe. Think of this big shoe. Think of what's that nursery rhyme? There was an old woman that lived in a shoe. Or something like, I can't remember. There was no man who lived in a shoe. There is a nursery rhyme or something like that. He goes, so think of, there is no man who lives in a shoe. We're like, okay. And he's like, number 2 on the list is study anywhere and everywhere. He's like, who would think of studying in a shoe? But now you're going to think of this shoe, think of that man that's living in this shoe. You're going to think of this as a location that you never really thought of before. And that's an odd place to study, but that's because you're studying everywhere and everywhere you possibly can. Like, oh, wow. Okay. 3 is tree. What's tree? Or what's 3? Well, 3 on the list is taking notes. He's like, okay, tree. What do trees have? Like leaves? No. Don't think of it leaves. Think a little more outside of the box. Not really outside of the box. Branches. Yeah, trees have branches. Branches fall off the tree all the time, land on the ground. What are they? They're sticks. What do you do with sticks? You can sword fight with sticks. You can throw them in the fire. He's like, you can draw things in the sand with sticks. He's like, just picture the end of your stick. You're writing in the sand. Take notes. You're doing anything you can with that stick. You're using that stick as your note-taking device now, and you're just picturing yourself writing the words, take notes with that stick. I shit you not. This is 20 years ago. I've never had to refer to that list ever again in my life, except the very next day when we had to take that test on it. For whatever reason, we had to take that test on it. I don't remember. Like I said, I don't even remember why we had to do this, but I can remember what's on that freaking list for the most part. And that is a brilliant study tool that I will tell you I've never heard anybody else talk about since then, and that was in the 9th grade. I think that is a genius study tool. The only problem I have with that study tool is I was thinking about that today, because I was thinking, how am I going to memorize this list of things that I have to memorize? And I was like, I wonder if I can memorize it with that, put it into a list order and memorize it with that. Now everything is so ingrained in my mind whenever I think, okay, let's go with 1. 1 is bun. What's 1 on my list? 1's actually an R on this list. Is a RECVO. I got to look at it again and remember what it is. I cannot associate anything else with the word bun except for setting priorities now in my life, because that is what I've always associated a bun with. Setting priorities. How many people associate buns with setting priorities? Me. Nobody else. I am not going the right way. I can almost guarantee to you that I needed to veer off somewhere because I did not come over all of this stuff. I'm going to go back to the ocean side to re-get my bearings here. Did I start going sideways or something? I am not 100% sure, but I need to get myself to safety. So I would love to use that trick again, but I can't get that out of my mind on that acronym that I was taught when I was taught that system. And now I'm sure I could actually come up with different words for, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, instead of bun, let's make it be fun. I'm thinking of having fun and, associate something with that. The main problem that I would have when doing that, is that where that, why did I come way around this way? Is this that cave? But the main problem I have with doing that is the fact that then I have to memorize, okay, what was the, this is that cave. What is the set of features that I have to remember for this particular thing I'm trying to remember, which again gets into the whole problem of having, if you have two acronyms that are the exact same thing, then you're going to run into this same issue, is because you can't do that. It doesn't work. You won't be able to remember stuff. And I wish I could get that system down, but I'm telling you, if you really have something in the pending now moment, use that strategy of the 1 bun, 2 shoe, 3 tree. I won't even tell you the rest because I'll let you make up your own words for them. You don't need to use the ones that, he taught me. You can make up your own words for them. Like I said, I warn you that you will, unfortunately, if you do it right and actually remember the stuff, because I will tell you, the next day, every single one of us, aced that test. Every single one of us that were in this particular class when this guy, taught us this stuff, we aced that thing because we just knew it inside and out. And I guarantee people in that class, just like myself, could recite them to you today because they just remember. And it was just that system. And, the problem is you'll probably never be able to use this system again because of the fact that it's now locked into that one thing that you're trying to learn, which is what's happening to me. I've got to find a different system to remember the stuff I need to remember for tomorrow. But you know what? I've been to a lot of college. I've taken a lot of tests. I can remember random things. I'll find something that will work for me. But unfortunately, since I kicked the bucket again and have a little journey to make that direction, you guys have to stay tuned for the next episode to see if I actually can reclaim my stuff this time or if it's gone for good. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, this is Jeff, and I'll see you in the next episode.